What does it take for hip-hop's consummate kingmaker to end up peering over a defense table instead of a mixing console? Sean Diddy Combs built a pop culture empire on swagger, unshakable optimism, and an uncanny knack for turning parties into profit. But in the spring of 2025, the room he walks into every morning has no velvet ropes, only armed marshals and a silent jury. Today, we're tracing the improbable road from platinum plaques to federal charges, and why every minute of this courtroom drama feels less like celebrity gossip and more like a moment that could redefine American music and justice together. At 19, a baby-faced intern from Harlem named Puff sprinted through Uptown Records, delivering coffee, demos, and big ideas. By 30, that same kid, now christened Diddy, owned the #1 single, an MTV network worth watching, and an alcohol portfolio pouring 9-figure revenue streams. Bad Boy wasn't just a label, it was a cultural weather system. Can't Nobody Hold Me Down felt less like a hook than prophecy. Forbes routinely slotted him among music's top earners, while Ciroc vodka sales boomed on the back of a handshake deal that cut him equity instead of a standard endorsement fee. The glow dimmed, though, in 2023 when spirits giant Diageo ended their once golden partnership amid dueling racial bias accusations and lawsuits from both sides. Fans assumed it was merely a business spat. In hindsight, that split looked like the first gust before a hurricane. Diddy's genius was packaging aspiration, shiny suits, white yachts, orchestra stabs to anyone who tuned in. The same bravado that once electrified the culture, prosecutors now claimed emboldened something darker, a network that protected the man at its center at any cost. The first crack wasn't audible until late afternoon on November 16, 2023. Singer and longtime partner Cassie Ventura filed a civil complaint in federal court alleging a decade of sexual assault, human trafficking, and emotional terror. By dawn the next day, she walked away with a reported $20 million settlement. The speed stunned observers, hinting at how urgently Combs wanted the accusations buried. It didn't work. Instead, the filing kicked the door wide open. Within weeks, 3 more women and 1 male producer sued, each alleging that behind Diddy's glimmering lifestyle lurked coercion, blackmail, and force. The last suits painted a pattern: elaborate freak-offs where dancers or sex workers were allegedly ferried across state lines. Designer drugs flowed as freely as champagne, and consent became murky beneath the glare of power. These were no longer whispers in back rooms. They were sworn affidavits in public dockets, and they whetted the appetite of federal investigators already listening for RICO rhythms. On a brisk October morning 8 months ago, U.S. Marshals hustled Combs into Manhattan's federal courthouse. An indictment, thick as a coffee table book, accused him of shepherding a racketeering enterprise that spanned 17 criminal counts: sex trafficking, kidnapping, obstruction, witness tampering, bribery, even arson. Prosecutors say the conspiracy stretched back to 2008, almost the entire life-after-death era of Diddy's fame, meaning every party, every jet flight, every marketing rollout could become trial evidence. In plain terms, a RICO case means the government doesn't have to prove each crime personally committed by Combs. They only need to show he orchestrated or benefited from a pattern carried out by the enterprise. For a mogul famous for staying 2 steps ahead, this was the first time the chase felt like it was gaining on him. Ask anyone who made it past the phone collection bowl outside those hotel suites, and they'll tell you 2 things. The music was too loud to think, and the rules made silence a survival skill. Cassie returned to the stand this May, describing how the so-called freak-offs span cities from Miami to Paris. Private rooms thick with smoke, piles of cash for male sex workers, and cameras rolling in the corner for leverage later. Former creative director Capricorn Clark echoed her story, recounting a night in 2019 when she watched a teenage model pass between VIPs like party fouls. If you said no, she told jurors, there was always someone willing to make you say yes. Diddy's ex-assistant, known in court docs only as Mia, drew a straighter line. He demanded that staff scour Instagram for fresh faces, arrange itineraries, and book rooms just far enough from paparazzi to keep everything invisible until now. The defense pinned these claims on jealousy and money grabs, but the cumulative weight started tipping the scale of credibility. One image seemed pulled from a Hollywood thriller, a charred Porsche outside Kid Cudi's driveway, blackened under LA sunlight. Prosecutors introduced the photo, arguing it wasn't a random act, but a warning after Cudi refused to cancel rumored collaborations with Cassie. On the stand, the rapper's voice cracked, describing the explosion that jolted him awake at 3 a.m. Defense lawyers leapt up, claiming unfair prejudice, but the judge allowed the jury to see every scorched inch. It wasn't the only alleged scare tactic. A security guard testified about envelopes of cash routed to nightclub bouncers so VIP rooms could empty before police checkpoints. A former driver said he once dropped a hard drive at a studio and heard Combs snarl, "Losing footage is how bodies get lost too." Whether bravado or threat, the anecdote underscored prosecutors' theme: power used as a weapon. By May 12, 2025, reporters lined up outside the Daniel Patrick Moynihan courthouse before dawn, some live streaming the concrete just to prove they were first in line. Inside, the proceeding moves with surprising speed. No slow burn jury trial here. Cassie's cross-examination alone racked up 2 million TikTok clips, each dissecting body language. On day 15, gasps rippled when prosecutors projected a 2014 hotel receipt listing 10 rooms under aliases that matched Combs' entourage, including one simply labeled Studio 54, which investigators allege was a code for drug-stocked playrooms. Journalists count courtroom gasps the way radio stations once counted spins of "mo money, mo problems." But the defense has scored points too, highlighting inconsistencies in timelines, reminding jurors that celebrity memories age in filter-heavy Instagram archives. Still, the spectacle's magnetism is undeniable. Trials of the rich rarely stay confined to court filings. 2 days ago, former President Donald Trump said he would look at the facts if a pardon request came across his desk. Minutes later, 50 Cent jumped onto Instagram promising to personally brief Trump against that idea, reigniting their decades-long rivalry. Late-night hosts devoured the feud. Political pundits debated whether a presidential tease was dog-whistle politics or a genuine pledge. The result? A trial already saturated with pop culture intrigue suddenly touched the highest rung of power. For Combs, this is double-edged. A pardon hint suggests influence, but it also reframes the case from a question of guilt to a referendum on celebrity privilege. And every time a politician weighs in, defense lawyers lose another chance to paint their client as an ordinary defendant. If jurors convict on a single sex trafficking count, Combs faces a mandatory minimum of 10 years and could see life in prison if aggravated circumstances are proven. RICO carries up to 20 years per count, plus forfeiture of any assets linked to the conspiracy, including recording masters and liquor revenues. Civil suits would pile on top of criminal fines, ensuring that even an early parole could leave him bankrupt. But acquittal isn't a clean slate. The Diageo divorce has already slashed tens of millions from his annual income, and analysts warn legacy brands like Revolt TV may struggle to land advertisers wary of controversy. In the court of public opinion, viral testimony lives forever. Even a not guilty verdict can't scrub a YouTube algorithm. So here's the riddle echoing from recording studios, the courtroom hallwinds. If the soundtrack of a generation came from a man found guilty of exploiting it, does the music lose its meaning, or does it become a cautionary chorus about power, temptation, and the true cost of fame? Drop your take in the comments, because one thing is clear. The verdict won't just decide Sean Combs' fate. It could rewrite the way we measure legacy in an era where every secret eventually streams to the surface.